You know, a visa is a privilege. It's not a right. You have no right to come here if you're a foreigner. You're only allowed here if what you are doing here is to the advantage of the British people more widely.
So how could we get rid of the people we don't want when they're already here?
But anybody who's here on a visa, we can take it away. And look, this is something we've already been doing, Martin. Look at, since those protests started in October, look at what we've already done on some of those student visas. If you come here claiming you want to study, but you then start spreading hatred, I'm afraid that's not what your visa's for. Let's be clear. If that's what you want to do, go find somewhere else to do it.
In the United Kingdom, recent protests have sparked contentious debates over the government's response to foreign nationals deemed to be promoting hate speech or extremism. The controversy centres around the notion that visas are a privilege, not a right, and the government's authority to revoke visas from individuals whose actions are perceived to be detrimental to the public good. This crackdown follows a surge in anti-Semitic incidents after Hamas attacks on Israel, leading to heightened scrutiny on individuals involved in pro-Palestine events.
Now, moving on, we've got some shocking exclusive footage for you right now on the show, taken this morning. You can now see migrants in Gravelines, northern France, take off in a dinghy. Now, police appear to be simply looking on. Look at the gendarmes there, posing for selfies by looking on as many of the immigrants struggle to even board that small boat. One or two of the French coppers could even be seen filming the migrants taking off as they head to our shores, making the precarious journey across the channel. Look at that. That craft can barely cope with the weight. It's bending, it's undulating. They're swimming more and more onto that. The police simply looking on. No attempt whatsoever to stop that craft. And remember, last year, Rishi Sunak pledged to give the French police £500 million to deal with those migrant crossings. You can see how weighed down that boat is, including women and small children. They fail to successfully get onto that boat. The migrants are sitting on the edge of the boat with their legs dangling into the water. So to ensure the maximum amount of people can get on, typically there are about 50 migrants to every boat. And of course, this is less than a week into Keir Starmer's tenure as Prime Minister. Forget stop the boat. Sir Keir has promised to smash the gangs, and he has already scrapped the previous government's Rwanda plan, which some said was a deterrent. Shocking pictures there of women and children in the shallows simply being overlooked. Women and children first. That used to be the first rule of sea. Totally ignored on that beach in this exclusive footage, setting off towards Dover as we can see yet another small boat. Shocking, shocking scenes.
Now I'm joined now by the former Chief Immigration Officer in Calais for UK Border Force, Kevin Saunders. Kevin, that footage there will no doubt come as no surprise to you. Another ordinary day on the beaches of France. In fact, we've now seen 484 illegal immigrants arrive since Sir Keir Starmer became the Prime Minister, including 419 on a single day on Tuesday. And Kevin, the weather ahead is looking to be very, very calm next week. And you know exactly what that means. There are going to be more and more of these boats coming over during that period.
Yes, there are, Martin. I'm afraid you're right. I mean, if you go back to Tuesday, you've only told half the story. 419 got across, which is all right. The French managed to intercept another 126. So, over 500 tried to do it. And there, by the grace of God, the French were able to stop 3 of the boats coming across. So that's a little bit of a result, but not a very big one because 400 plus got over. Do we know if that boat that you filmed got over?
And Kevin, Sir Keir Starmer himself has said the numbers are going up, not down. Well, that's just an admission of reality. And Kevin Saunders, we've spoken so many times about the deterrent. We all agree Rwanda had its imperfections, but nevertheless, offshore containment was that deterrent. On day one, that was removed. Kevin Saunders, you've been warning for months and months and months. Without offshore containment, without a deterrent, the numbers are guaranteed to go up.
Oh, the numbers are going to go. Oh, yes, well, they will go up. They will go up indeed. And as you say, so rightly say, with the weather due to get better this week, we will see an awful lot more coming across the channel. The migrants are there; they're waiting to come across. The pictures that you've got are not reassuring, are they? It doesn't look as though the French were doing too much at all to try and stop that boat.
And Kevin Saunders, what do you make of the pictures we saw there of women and children in the shallows being completely ignored by those already on that dinghy? They're not being helped in any capacity. You can see them there in the foreground in those orange life jackets. The women and children simply being ignored. And I guess this is just survival of the fittest, survival of those who want it the most. And Kevin, of course, back in April, 5 people died in a situation very, very similar to this one we're seeing on our screens right now, when the men, they marauded onto the boat and people were killed in the crush, including a girl aged 4 and a woman in her 30s.
Yes, it is a ruthless, absolutely ruthless organisation that's going on there. As you can see, it is basically the survival of the fittest.
Then Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and Home Secretary James Cleverly took a firm stance, advocating for stringent measures against foreign nationals spreading hate at protests or engaging in activities perceived as intimidating. This initiative aims to extend the criteria for visa revocation beyond national security threats to include those promoting division within communities, echoing actions taken in France, where similar measures resulted in the expulsion of extremists. The UK government seeks to maintain social harmony and protect community values of tolerance and respect. The decision to scrutinise visas more closely comes amidst heightened security concerns, with reports indicating an increased risk of terror attacks on British soil. Security services have warned MPs about unprecedented levels of extremist chatter, prompting fears of potential threats comparable to those seen post 9/11. This alarming backdrop underscores the urgency of government actions to mitigate risks and safeguard public safety.
So the women and children aren't going to have much chance getting on there, but perhaps in some way that's not a bad thing. At least they'll be safe in France, rather than coming across the channel. And coming across from Gravelines is a very, very dangerous crossing. You can see already in your picture how strong the currents actually are. So, that's going to be that's a really dangerous crossing coming there.
And Kevin, as well as that lack of deterrent that we talked about with Rwanda, dead and buried on day one, there are numerous TikTok videos going out offering cut price deals, 2-for-1 offers. There's such a huge amount of money in this grotesque industry, Kevin Saunders, and you told me the other day there's a new nickname for Sakia Storm
In the camps on French beaches.
Yes, that's right. The migrants are very pleased, particularly the Kurds. I think they're calling him the friendly one, because they believe that it's going to be much, much easier now for them to come across and settle in the UK. And basically, they're right. It is going to be. It's going to be awful. The next few weeks, if the weather stays fine, we're going to see a lot of people come across.
And Kevin, a lot of people who are opposed not just to the arrival of the illegal immigrants in Britain, but also to this horrible, horrible industry. We're the ones who don't want to see disasters in the Channel. Kevin, with more and more people coming and trying to get over to make that precarious, death-defying mission, do you fear that we might see yet more disasters in the Channel?
Yes, I think it's inevitable that we will. I mean, it's so ruthless what is going on in the Channel. We saw it on your film, the survival of the fittest. You know, these young men virtually elbowing other people out of the way to get on the boats, and so there are going to be a lot more deaths. I mean, that boat is massively overloaded, and you can see that the sea you can see the white horses on the waves there. So that's not a particularly calm sea, and if that boat went down with 60-odd people on it, there would be a number of deaths, wouldn't there?
Yeah, Bomb, I reckon, Kevin, when we look at that picture there's about 40 on that boat. It's worth pointing out that in the last 7 days, the average amount of people per dinghy is between 65 and 69. So that's actually relatively lightly laden. And with numbers like that, Kevin, it surely is only a matter of time before we see another disaster in the Channel. Kevin Saunders, thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, thank you very much.
In response to ongoing protests, particularly within the Palestine solidarity movement, concerns have been raised about slogans and rhetoric perceived as advocating for the elimination of Israel. Demonstrations have included marches targeting financial institutions with historical ties to Israel, such as Barclays Bank. These events have drawn criticism for potentially inflaming tensions and causing discomfort among local residents, prompting calls for decisive government intervention to uphold British values of tolerance and ensure public order. Political figures across party lines have expressed varying viewpoints on balancing the right to protest with the need to combat extremism. While there is consensus on the importance of robust measures against hate speech, some emphasise the fundamental democratic right to peaceful assembly. Labour education spokesman Bridget Phillipson, for instance, supports stringent action against extremism but underscores the need to protect the integrity of democratic freedoms.
At first, they're simply shapes in the distance, but as we run down the beach, we see dozens of people. Men, women and children, all from Kurdistan, intent on reaching Britain. They're waiting for their ride, called a taxi boat, a smuggler's dinghy that's already picked up dozens of passengers.
That is the taxi boat that's just arrived to pick these people up. That boat is already really full, but as you can see, they're marching out through the water. Now, the reason they're doing that is they know the police can't stop them once they're in the water. But actually, there's not a police officer to be seen.
The water is cold. Getting into the boat isn't easy. Children are carried. But the smugglers are working hard, lifting people on. It's quick, and it's clearly a well-practiced drill. In the haste to secure a spot on the boat, tempers fray. But in the end, everyone gets on board. Around 70 passengers. And as the dinghy starts to slowly chug away from the shore, the smugglers run off. They've had a good night, but one told us he now had a shortage of customers and blamed the impact of the government's Rwanda law. Near Dunkirk, and it's breakfast time in the camp. Omar's cooking. 2 years ago, he paid smugglers $15,000 to get him from Kurdistan to Britain. But now he's come back here to cook for migrants. Omar actually paid £500 to be smuggled out of Britain. He feared being deported.
They could arrest you any time and deport you. They would send you to Rwanda or Iraq, or you end up going insane in detention. That is why I came back to the camp. Everyone is free to try and go to Britain, but Britain is not what people think it is. When you speak about it, it sounds good, but when you actually experience it, it's a different story.
Most people do disagree. Barzan arrived just a few days ago and he's desperate to get on a boat.
Not at all. I don't have a problem. I will go to Rwanda. If the government says go to that country, then you will have to go to that country. The migrants won't stop, no matter what you threaten them with. Even if you tell them you will take them to Africa, they will still go without hesitation to Britain.
Back on the beach, and the boat is long gone. What remains is the evidence of a desperate rush. People here are talking about Rwanda, but they're still dreaming of Britain. Adam Parsons, Sky News, Dunkirk.
Looking ahead, scheduled marches by the Palestine Solidarity Campaign continue to stir debate and public discourse. The upcoming large-scale protest in London raises questions about the appropriate boundaries of protest messaging and the government's role in regulating potentially inflammatory rhetoric. The UK government's response to the protests and extremism reflects broader trends in European and international policies regarding immigration and security. Countries like France have also faced similar challenges, implementing strict measures to counter extremism and maintain social order. The deportation of a long-term resident Tunisian imam from France for making provocative remarks underscores the zero-tolerance approach adopted by some European nations towards hate speech and incitement.
Since the arrival of the railway in Victorian times, Swindon has attracted workers.
The next station is Swindon.
Increasingly, people have come here from abroad. Today, 1 in 5 of its population were born outside of the UK. The owner of this barber shop has seen a change.
The town's getting multicultural, and that's good. That's what we need, and that everyone just getting to work.
Gaya from India is one of 2 foreign employees here. He came from Goa in 2017, hoping to find work.
Yeah, here are many opportunities here, so people coming from abroad.
Client Jamie's shop fitting business was affected by the arrival of more migrant workers.
A lot of foreigners coming over, driving the prices down. But again, I did end up taking 2 of them on as well. They work, their work ethic is better than most of my guys.
Even so, he wants to see the numbers cut.
England just seems to let anyone in and make it as easy as possible.
Is it something that concerns you?
I just think it's gone a bit too far. I think too many people. Which some places in England you go to, there's more. You're kind of an outsider in your own country.
In my country, other people come there. So I have less opportunity. I also finding an opportunity in other countries.
It just seems like England is the opportunity, isn't it? It's just, but it's not just one country. Where are you from?
I'm from India, Goa.
Yeah, so from India, Goa, but we're getting from everywhere, aren't we?
In the town centre, we met Jason and his mother. He's unemployed and thinks Britain does too much to help migrants. How important an issue is immigration to you?
Well, I can't get a job. They come to this country and they can just get a job just like that.
So when you apply, what do they say to you?
Well, I've got a criminal record. Assault.
Assault?
Yeah.
How long ago?
Well, I've been out of prison now 3 years now.
And so you blame immigrants rather than your criminal record? But some shoppers we spoke to welcome workers.
We do need people from around the world to help with certain jobs. I live near a farming community and they're really struggling with trying to get people to come in.
All the staff at this car wash are recent migrants. The Afghan manager who employs them came to the UK as an asylum seeker on the back of a lorry more than 2 decades ago. Do you think too many people are coming to the UK now?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though you came here, you think there's too many coming
it is,
now?
Yes, because there's more pressure. Even see, if you're going to the hospital and right now you have to wait 3-4 hours to wait for them, and there's an example.
But some people would say that the men behind you, they're taking the jobs that could be done by people who were born in the UK.
Yeah, they could say that, but I don't. If you ask them and offer them to come on to do the work in the car wash, I don't think they will come.
Across Britain, there are 6.8 million foreign workers in employment, just over 20% of the UK workforce, up from 4.6 million a decade ago, which was 15%. 82% of working-age migrant men are in work, more than the 78% of those born here. 36% of foreign-born workers are in high-skilled jobs, compared to 33% of UK-born workers. The statistics may surprise people, but could be used to reinforce views on both sides of the immigration debate. Some will see them as evidence that migrants are essential to Britain's economy, while others will claim that immigrants are taking the jobs of British workers. Bianca from Romania worked as a waitress when she first arrived, but has since trained in law and is now employed at this firm in Swindon.
I don't think that I'm taking anyone's place because I worked to be where I am today.
Emma, who recruited her, says her application stood out. She also has a mixed-race daughter and worries that immigration has become a political battleground across Europe.
It actually makes me feel quite sad and quite frightened, actually, for the future, because I feel it's all very negative. Immigration can be a really positive thing.
The kind of narrative that they're spreading at the moment, that there's all these negatives to immigration, is just really dangerous. And yeah, that just turns into casual racism, I think, amongst the general population, really.
Politicians talk tough on migration, but successive governments have allowed foreign workers to keep coming. That's because British industry argues it needs them, despite the concerns of those who feel their country is changing as a result. Becky Johnson, Sky News, Swindon.
In the UK, the debate over visa revocation for individuals involved in hate speech at protests is not only about immediate security concerns, but also about long-term implications for multiculturalism and integration. Critics argue that overly stringent measures could potentially alienate immigrant communities and undermine efforts towards social cohesion. On the other hand, proponents of tougher actions emphasise the necessity of protecting national values and ensuring that immigration serves the interests of the British people. Then Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's government has framed its actions as essential steps to safeguard communities from extremism and uphold British virtues of tolerance and respect. The emphasis on scrutinising visas and potentially revoking them for hate preachers and troublemakers signals a proactive stance aimed at preventing radicalisation and promoting community harmony.
These were the scenes in Dublin recently as government agencies moved in to remove tents occupied by asylum seekers. After many weeks of evolving unhygienic conditions, the area around the International Protection Office was cleared, much to the delight of local residents. The action by agencies of the Irish state, however, simply saw asylum seekers move 200 metres down the road to the nearby Grand Canal due to a scarcity of accommodation. The influx of people seeking refuge in the Republic of Ireland from the UK has been exacerbated by the fact that Ireland has an open border with Northern Ireland, which is in the UK. Khyber from Afghanistan says he is in Dublin because of his fear that if he resides in the UK, he will be deported to Rwanda.
I was supposed to stay in UK, but there was a Rwanda plan problem, which is very difficult for migrants to accept that, and which is very fearful for every asylum. So I just came to Ireland.
According to Khyber, the Irish authorities have told him there is no accommodation in Dublin at present, meaning he and others will have to continue to live in tents without proper food and sanitary provisions.
They tell us we don't have any accommodation for the moment, so we will just wait that, so they don't know when they will provide us accommodation. So at the moment we just stay in the tents.
The Irish government is to change legislation in the coming weeks, giving it the legal authority to return illegal immigrants to the UK. However, a member of the Irish Parliament and a qualified lawyer says any changes in the law will ultimately amount to no change at all.
Well, it's entirely academic in circumstances where the United Kingdom have said that they won't take people back unless France also takes people back from the United Kingdom. I mean, it's certainly workable to fix the flaws in the legislation that were identified by the Irish High Court, but it's academic if nobody's going to be transferred, which is the current situation.
The Irish Prime Minister said scenes like this would never happen again, but they have. The problem now for the Irish government is that once these tents are cleared and these refugees are housed, the next influx of asylum seekers will only be 24 hours away. This looks like a problem that shows no sign of going away. This is Ken Murray for Euronews in Dublin.
Public opinion on these issues remains divided, reflecting a complex landscape of concerns about security, civil liberties, and the impact of immigration policies on societal integration. The ongoing protests and governmental responses serve as a litmus test for how Western democracies navigate the intersection of free speech, security threats, and cultural diversity in an increasingly polarized global context. The upcoming Palestine Solidarity March in London is expected to draw significant attention and scrutiny, both domestically and internationally. It represents a pivotal moment for stakeholders to reassess the boundaries of permissible speech in public demonstrations and the role of state intervention in regulating contentious issues. Moreover, the UK's approach to visa regulations and extremism is likely to influence broader discussions within the European Union and international forums on counter-terrorism strategies and immigration policies. As Western democracies grapple with the challenges posed by extremist ideologies and rising security threats, finding a balance between security imperatives and civil liberties remains a paramount concern. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. For more content like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel.